Hello, everybody.
A lot of guests from Florida today. That is wonderful.
All right, I'm killing the music.
Chicago.
Okay, so we'll get started. I know some people are still joining, but let's go ahead and do it. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for Lunch with Lucy. My name is Kate Remillard. I'm a marketing manager with BHT Studios, and I'm happy to be here with you today as your MC. Just a few housekeeping items to share before we get started. Everyone is muted except for our panelists. And if you have questions for our guests, please add them to the Q&A box on your screen anytime, and we'll get to them at the end of the session. And the last thing is I wanted to give a shout out to the first 5 people who registered for today's webinar and received a free lunch on us. Those people are Pam Paris, Helen Alexander, Pam Wilson, Judy Hunt, and Christy Kolzak. And now I'm happy to introduce our hostess with the mostest, Lucy Edwards.
Hi, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm just thrilled to spend the next 30 minutes with you. So, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. I would love to introduce 2 of our guests today, and it's Wes Hubbard. He's VP Business Development at Edworks, and Keith Stambonti, Director of Strategic Partnership at Edworks. So please welcome our guests.
Thanks, Lizzie.
All right.
So let's jump right in, I guess, right? And we'll talk about Digital Marketing Foundation. In your opinion, how important it is to have professional, great quality photography and video?
I'll take this one, Wes, and maybe you can hop in on the next one. But I mean, I think if you're on this webinar, you know just how important it is to, put yourself out there in the most professional light. And especially nowadays, what we're seeing is that sellers are more and more demanding for what they expect. So I think, bottom line, it's crucial to the business to have, just top tier quality marketing, but also in ways that you can do that doesn't drain all of your time and energy. So it is wildly important, and sellers are demanding more and more of it.
Well, that's understandable. We believe in professional marketing strategy for every property, and I think that is the foundation, and it is extremely important. And do clients understand the difference and how you will be using the media if it is not professional? Do they are they prepared to accept if it is not professionally done, that it will not hit every product and every direction?
Yeah, I mean, Keith, one thing I'll add on this one is I think that a lot of times it's not recognized how intelligent the clients are in this respect. Someone may take, we've seen it all. We run hundreds of thousands of ads for listings. Actually, we have over 1 million, and we've seen plenty of photos taken with someone's cell phone. And the agent plans to or says they'll take better photos later, but then it hits the MLS with those photos. And you can tell the client, no, someone's coming later, but the reality is you've now set the expectations in the client's mind. And having seen it time and time again, it is very obvious when a photo has been taken on a cell phone or in a non-professional way. And then it winds up on an automated AdWorks listing ad. It potentially winds up in a video put together to put onto television commercials. And these things stand out. And not only does your client notice, but other people in your community notice. Think about everyone that's browsing the MLS. You put up photos that don't make you and your brokerage look professional, everyone else sees that. So even if your agent is planning, or you as an agent, you're planning to replace it in the future, people are still seeing that quick photos you took to meet the MLS requirements with your iPhone on the MLS.
Yeah, we see that all the time, but less and less. That I think it is very helpful that we have Zoom meetings and presentations, and we educate our customers on the importance of the professional media. But the way I understand, not every program will even accept homemade videos. They have to be professional. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. So one of the things we'll talk about in a few slides here is, the streaming television product that AdWorks has launched, and basically there are specs and certain specifications that need to be met to run on premium streaming devices and channels like Hulu and ESPN and HGTV. So yeah, I mean, bottom line is if it doesn't meet those specs, it might not even run.
Great. And what's the benefit in having a marketing partner?
Wes, maybe we can piggyback on this together, but I think basically the biggest benefit is that when you have someone that has expertise and technology, you aren't spending so much time and energy trying to keep up with an ever-changing, market and demand. It's challenging. That's why we've got so many people on this call. I mean, we all have different components in what we do, but it's challenging to keep up with that. So when you have a top tier marketing partner, you can lean on and leverage that partnership, to meet those high quality standards and that professionalism that your clients expect. So, you don't have to be an expert. You can lean on experts and kind of use those platforms to your advantage.
Yeah, and Keith, what I would add to that is I assume most people, if not everyone on this call, those of us as panelists included, want our businesses to grow. And there are very few businesses on the face of the earth that grew because one person became a subject matter expert in everything. And you have to be willing to understand where your strengths are. And so for a lot of real estate agents, the strength is in selling and working with the clients. It's not in figuring out how to light a room. It's not in how to appropriately cut and transition between photos and a video. That's not to say that everyone on this call would be qualified to learn that. I'm just not sure it's really going to be an effective use of your time. And if it's not effective, you're not going to be able to scale your business. So, if you want to learn how to be great at making videos and do 3 listings a year, it's possible. But certainly I would myself rather lend that to the experts that have done it 100,000 times so that I can actually work more with the clients and sell more listings.
That is great. Thank you, guys.
Let's
So
move on.
we are going.
Yeah, let's move on to strategy. So when it comes to digital marketing strategy, it can seem a little daunting in the beginning, especially to somebody who is kind of a beginner. So where exactly do you start?
That's a great question. Really, I think it starts with understanding what's possible, how to walk into a listing presentation and be confident in the tools and resources you have in order to market that listing and really kind of delight your seller. So there needs to be a base layer of education on what's really possible. And then also understanding how to use those tools. With AdWorks, we make it really, really simple for any agent of any expertise or lack thereof to launch different campaigns. But it can be done in minutes, right? I mean, you can create and launch campaigns to market listings or even brand yourself as an agent in minutes and not have to be, an expert in these fields. And that's really what the platform is geared towards.
Yeah, and Keith, to piggyback on that as well, and I think what Frank just added builds on this perfectly. Your clients don't care if you or VHT makes the great video that they see. What they want is the final product that showcases their home fantastically to the market. And so leverage partners and be very honest with your clients and say, look, here's what I'm going to do for your listing, and then follow through with it. One of the pitfalls that we certainly see a lot, and then we'll get asked if we can help fix, make things better for the client, is there's an overpromise. And sometimes there's an overpromise on what they're going to do, or there's an overpromise on what the agent is actually going to pay to do for that listing. And so going in with a very honest game plan of, here are the things I'm going to do. And then knowing you have partners that will back you up and get those done in the timelines that are expected, with the quality that's expected, then that's how you can kind of have the beauty of the phone not ringing because your client's really happy and you followed through on the promises, which is then going to carry through to your own personal brand in the market. I'd say those are probably the top level strategies. I don't know if we want to dive down into some more tactical things as well.
Well, I'll say one more thing to that is when the expectations are aligned and you leverage partners and execute, the byproduct is not only do you have a happy seller and a happy client, is they refer you more business. When you have that wonderful experience you're going to grow your business because that's when the referrals come.
That makes great sense.
Yeah, and what's the difference, would you say, in how to market to win the listing versus marketing after you've actually won the listing?
I'll take this one, West. I think making sure that you have a modernized marketing presentation that's, very buttoned up. You are explaining to the client exactly what you're going to do. And then to West's point, that you're fulfilling those expectations, really making sure that there's a buttoned up presentation to win the listing. And then afterwards, in terms of actually marketing and advertising that listing, once you've won it, leveraging those partners, and, again, using platforms that are designed to, automatically push out these types of campaigns. So you're not spending your time and energy doing it, will, again, market and advertise that listing after you've won it.
And one other thing I would add to that, Keith, that's changed a little bit with digital and online and video is once you've won that listing, it's still important that you market what you're doing back to the client. So if you said you were going to do a video and run that video on streaming TV, do whatever you can to make sure they see that video, but even better, they see that video on streaming TV. And those are things that we can both, help you as partners in doing. Because traditionally, if you had a newspaper or a postcard, you delivered that physical media to the client. You held an open house. They saw the clients coming in, or you might have asked them not to be there, but they knew who was there. That doesn't change with digital. It's one of the things that we've learned over time. People think, oh, so I'm going to set up an advertisement. It's only going to run to people that might want to buy this home, and the client never sees it. It's the most important loop you can close, and to get those referrals and to keep that client happy and to keep that client satisfied. So, I think, Kate, to answer your question, the marketing you do before is promising what you're going to do. The marketing after is following through with that, but also making sure that the client themselves sees and recognizes what you're doing.
Yeah, we always
comment on that. I spoke to one of our agents the other day, and she said that on one of her listings, she actually had 40,000 views, which was absolutely incredible. And the seller was extremely impressed. And that was one, I thought it was one of the greatest tools as well to share with your seller how hard you are working, how creative you are as an agent, and how great your marketing strategy is. 40,000 views is a lot.
It is, but I think to West's point, the single most valuable view is their client, and making sure that, if they didn't see it, in their minds, it didn't happen. So we want to make sure that there are, mechanisms in place within these campaigns to make sure that their seller and the clients are seeing their own advertisement, their own listing.
I was going to ask you about Facebook ads, and we actually got a question in from one of our viewers here, from Mark Scolari, I believe is how you pronounce it, and he's wondering what is the best type of Facebook ad to market a property, and what is the best type of Facebook ad to get leads?
Sure, I'll take this one. I mean, what I will tell you is there are a lot of different levers you can pull in Facebook. I will take your question directly kind of in the business manager ad side. I'm going to try not get too technical here. What I will tell people is that if you post on Facebook or you boost on Facebook, those go almost nowhere anymore. The reach is less than 3%. Facebook has made it so you really have to actually put ad dollars behind it. And a boosted post is not advertising dollars. We work incredibly close with Facebook. They're probably our largest, partner in a lot of what we do. And so what we've done into our platform is incorporate a lot of those best practices. Inside the AdWorks platform, that means that the millions of different combinations of advertisements you could choose in Facebook, we've picked them for you and then added a little bit of freedom for what you would like to do. In terms of marketing your listing, admittedly, this is something we're still working on with them. Facebook is definitely doing a lot towards going towards lightweight motions. There's something that kind of catches your eye, carousel posts, but honestly, I cannot stress this enough. A good quality image stands out so much. We have horror stories of bad images and good images. And the reality is the number of clicks and likes and comments you're getting on a high quality image, that stands out more than anything else. So in terms of, building that ad, like again, start with the photography. We optimize a lot of ours for reach. That's something that we feel is quite important in terms of actually getting your message out there. But depending on what you want, you kind of asked the question on leads. AdWorks is not a lead gen company. That's not to say the advertising that we do doesn't drive you business. It's just that a lot of people in real estate think, I want a name and a phone number. And the reality is there's 160 million of those sold each year in real estate, and there's still only 5.5 million homes. So even if it was a perfect market, you'd have 11, leads that were buyers and sellers, 160 million of them being sold. You can experiment with lead ads. You can experiment with driving back to a website with a squeeze page. Again, the decision we've made at AdWorks, get great content, get a great photo, get great video, and have a strong personal brand. And also if you have a good brokerage behind you, leverage off your company, your brokerage brand, and drive those referrals, drive your book of business. We have some really compelling case studies on ROI that I think are going to be a lot more interesting than trying to optimize a Facebook lead ad. There are plenty of people that have success with that as well. Sorry for the longer technical answer there.
No, for sure. Let's go ahead and move on to the streaming TV commercials, because I think this is super exciting and interesting and newer to everybody's digital marketing toolbox. So Lucy, you had some questions about this.
Sure. How are agents using streaming TV apps to advertise?
I'll take this one. So we launched the streaming TV product back in July of last year. And the way that we built it was basically to brand the agent, right? It was brand centric, agent centric. Within days of bringing it to market, agents, when they understood they could upload their own custom 30-second spots, immediately get creative and use it now to win listings and market listings on television. So the way we built it, kind of, things changed a little bit. The market kind of took us where, the market needed to take us. But agents are using it really twofold. One is to brand themselves on large format in your living room televisions. And then the second would be to actually market and advertise listings.
And where do they run?
Where do they run? All right, that's a great question. So everyone, you've been at home more so now than in previous months and years, watching Hulu and Apple TV, Roku, Sling TV. There are literally hundreds of different streaming devices and channels where the streaming TV commercials will run. Typically people think of Netflix. Well, Netflix isn't ad supported, so these streaming TV commercials won't run there. But most of you, there's 200 million people in the United States streaming television right now. And primarily think of places like Hulu and Roku and Sling.
HGTV?
HGTV, yep.
Yeah, so Lucy, the two things I would add to that are, we want, whether this is streaming TV, social, or banner display ads, we want the agent to stand out in premium areas. So a lot of what we've done on the AdWorks platform is make sure that, we still day part our commercials. For those that are aware, with traditional TV advertising, it means it doesn't show in the late hours or the early hours of the day. We restrict it to channels that we feel are, where you'd want to be seen. And actually right now, we still restrict it to full format televisions. So we believe it's significantly more powerful for your brand to be in someone's living room with other people watching, rather than on someone's phone. I admittedly have watched Hulu on my phone. It's a different experience. So we highlight it to that. And I think the other thing is, a lot of people don't realize sometimes when they're watching streaming TV. So if you're on your TV and you click a button that says HGTV and not doing it through your cable box, that's inventory we have access to. So a lot of people, they think streaming TV has to be a computer or things like that. That's not true at all. Most TVs sold in the last 5 years all have a lot of streaming TV built into it, and you'll have access to that premium inventory.
Thank you. That's very important. How do you target?
So right now, the streaming television commercials are geo-targeted. So the process is very easy, in which you select the commercial that you want to run, either pre-made templates that AdWorks has provided, or a custom 30-second video that you upload. And then you simply look at a digital map, you're dropping pins, you're drawing different radii, and we only show the streaming TV commercial in that area that you choose, which is admittedly much more beneficial than traditional, cable or linear television, in which maybe you're advertising to an area that's much larger than your business footprint. So this allows you to be, more hyper targeted with the delivery. And then you simply choose the number of commercials you want to run, and you're literally running commercials in minutes.
Yeah, and, one thing I just saw a question came up. So one thing to be clear, in different channels, there's going to be different places we advertise. So for instance, on Facebook, we do advertise on the Facebook newsfeed on your phone. With our web banner ads, this is where we're going. Streaming TV will get here, but we're actually able to do things like target the client directly, which we can now do on streaming TV. We're able to target potential buyers directly. So in that case, we will show up. I know you were saying you saw the listing advertised on an app on your phone. In that case, we do show up in things like apps, on computers, on tablets. We feel the targeting is there, and also those are not ads that can even run on full format television. So in different channels, we're going to pick different devices. So it's a good question. So for streaming TV right now, it's just full format TVs. For Facebook, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, display, social, we do it on LinkedIn. Those will show up across all devices.
Yeah, I just had a conversation with one of our clients. I'm in a beautiful state of New Jersey. So she's in Princeton area, and she is targeting everything around Manhattan and on both sides of Hudson River. So she was telling me how great it is and easy for her to now target potential buyers who are considering moving to her area, which is an hour and a half away, but that's her target area. And she was saying that her return on investment is absolutely spectacular on that.
Yeah, Lucy, that's a fantastic question. It's actually really important with TV and why TV is different. So why streaming TV is different. Traditionally with television, you had to advertise to what's called a designated marketing area. I'm from New York City. I would watch the same, New York one that someone was watching in Queens, that someone was sometimes even watching in Long Island. That's a massive area, and it was hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a 30-second spot. To the reference the agent in Princeton, New Jersey, she can now actually just say, I'm going to drop a pin in this quarter mile. And you can get, the denser the population, the more granular you can get with your targeting. For anyone familiar with New York, I mean, you can literally go 2 blocks and it's a totally different, group that you're advertising to, and different people that they maybe work downtown. Commuting to New Jersey is no problem at all for someone that works uptown. I mean, these are, really big differences, and streaming TV lets you drop a pin as granular at times as a quarter of a mile. In the past, you had to target everyone in the 5 boroughs. So it's a huge win, especially for people that are in, major metropolitan areas.
That brings me to another question. What is the average conversion and return on investment? I'm sure everyone wants to know, once you invest your energy and your money and everything else that you possibly can imagine, how you can see the result.
Yeah, there's 2 ways. The first, and Keith might have some other good ones on this as well. The first one is probably the most simple, which is bring this into a few of your listing presentations. If you win a listing, that's, the reference earlier was a $10+ million listing, for the idea of running a month of television commercials for $400, $800, $1,200, whatever you offer. I think anyone do a quick calculation on 3% there, you're talking, $100,000 ROI. So, winning the listing is just a very clear way to prove it. The other one really comes from the brand lift, and brand lift marketers have tried to nail down to give a specific ROI. The number I like here is that 75% of people trust television commercials. If you could run one type of marketing in your area that will increase your recognition, your trust, that is streaming television commercials. So again, hard ROI, go try win some listings with it, see what it costs, see how much more you're winning high-end listings. Softer ROI is the trust that you'll gain in your community. Keith, do you have any to add to that?
No, I think you're spot on. I mean, there's nothing precluding you from weaving this into your marketing presentations, and saying, hey, if you list with me, I'm going to put your home on HGTV and Hulu. Many other agents aren't saying that, so you're able to differentiate. you're able to bring really modern resources to that listing presentation. So if you're directly winning listings due to running streaming TV commercials, I mean, you can do the math on your GCI and kind of figure that out. But to West's point on the brand lift, you know, you're being seen on ESPN after a LeBron James Gatorade commercial, or on HGT TV after Matthew McConaughey's in a Lincoln. You know, I mean, you're really elevating your presence on premium channels and devices, which kind of automatically puts you in a upper echelon and upper tier. And again, for a price point that's, you know, pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I believe in brand and branding yourself, and everything you do today is investment in your tomorrow and tomorrow's listing. So absolutely. And also you just mentioned 3% commission. I would say that if you have a great marketing strategy, your commission should definitely be much higher. And that would also help in your listing presentation when you negotiate your terms. But I would like to find out, do agents advertise specific listings, or are they advertising themselves and their brand? But do they focus first on the listing or and then on the brand?
Both, honestly. And we can, Kate, you might want to jump into some examples here. But before we do, one thing to note about, you know, streaming TV commercials is really the flexibility. So we talk about targeting. You can always change your targeting anytime throughout the campaign. So if you want to hit one area, you know, for a quarter and then you know, change to a golf course community another quarter or another month, you can. You can also always change the assets. So if you're running a branded commercial that's focusing on you, but then you win a listing and you want to actually market that listing, we're able to just swap the video out and change. So the answer is both. I think seeing an example of each would be helpful. So Kate, I don't know if you've got the...
Yeah, so let's go to the examples. Everyone is anxious to see examples.
All right.
It's a bit choppy because it's via Zoom. And we were talking about the length of the video. So I understand that the best number is 30 seconds, and look at that, it's branded, so it's perfect.
Yeah, and I think, again, it really accomplishes both. In that example, what you're seeing is there's no actors, there's no voiceover, it's fairly simple, but at the end card, there's contact information, there's brokerage branding, you know, there's branding Frank and Andrew. We have examples of agents that actually like to be in the commercial themselves. You know, they're literally present. They are the voiceover. So the way that you can, you know, customize and film these videos is pretty endless, and you can get really creative with it.
No, that's great.
Yeah, so let's look at the example of the agent branded video, because this one's pretty over the top, but it's a cool example of really what can be done. So let's take a look at that. Volume down. Sorry, guys.
So it should be under 1 minute, right? For sure. And then preferably 30
In an age
seconds.
of enormous customer choice, the quality of your representation is critical to your long-term success. If you're exploring opportunities in the Telluride region, contact Bill Fandel with Compass, 970-708-4141. Live your life by a compass, not by a clock.
Now that obviously had some, you know, pretty solid production. They're not all like that. They're, you know, some are less like canned film quality. But yeah, I think it shows you the example of both a listing and a branded version.
Yeah, and two comments I would have on these, or all three actually. One is for those watching, it might have come through a little choppy and had some odd transitions. Both those videos had fairly smooth transitions, so it might look a little fast or choppy. The second thing I would say is both of them really chose to pull the branding in at the end, kind of a title card. There are some different rules on different streaming services, and we're happy to help advise on this, but there is actually the opportunity a lot of times to keep the branding up the entire time. So it's really how that incorporates into the video. But that's one way that, kind of to Keith's point, you can do both. You can have for an ad for your listing that includes the address, the price, the bed, bath, and your name and logo. So you can accomplish that in the full spot. And then finally, Lucy, to address your question in regards to the time, 30 seconds is generally what we recommend in terms of the kind of the maximum length. That really is where you start to really have a big drop off. If you can get 15 seconds, great. Sometimes it will depend on the message you want to convey, the property, and things of that nature. But usually we recommend 30 seconds. If you can do 15, that could even be better.
It is absolutely great. Yeah, and someone was mentioning about painting. It all depends also on how you would like it, and you can have the conversation with your photographer on the style, how fast or slow your clips should be. So that is all workable. That is the technique. Right now, we're just talking about the final product and how it's used.
Cool. Let's go through some common pitfalls really quickly, and then we'll get into some more Q&A and wrap up. So just wondering if you could give an agent kind of starting out in this world, the top thing to focus on that would make the biggest impact.
Go ahead, Wes.
Sure. I think the biggest one I would say is don't try and reinvent the wheel and do everything yourself. And this has to do with video and advertising, but I mean, I've seen people try and reinvent how they're going to manage their clients in spreadsheets instead of using a CRM. There are a lot of people that have come before you. There are a lot of people that have learned a lot of lessons. And I think that there are a lot of great partners out there and systems out there, and leveraging them will help you quickly scale your business. That was my 2 cents.
Yeah. I think the one thing I would say is align the expectations during that listing presentation with what you're able to fulfill once you've won the listing, and making sure those things align.
Awesome. Well, let's get to some of the questions. We've had a ton of questions coming
There's
in.
some good ones.
Yeah. So let's
Do
see
you
here.
recommend taking photos before listing and upload once it goes live in the MLS?
Lucy,
May I answer that
I was
question?
hoping you'd start there. Yeah, I think I said this earlier, but I cannot recommend this enough. I understand there are MLSs that require photos. We have seen agents upload canned images that say photo coming soon to circumvent MLS rules. We've seen the shots with the iPhone. We get it sometimes. You're really pushing to get that on the MLS. One, I would say you can always have a pocket listing before they're on the MLS, depending on certain rules. But there are wonderful partners out there that will take great photos for you, get it scheduled fairly quickly. I personally always recommend getting that out there. What does everyone say? The first impression is the really only impression that matters. Don't put bad photos out there. It's bad for your brand and it's bad for the listing.
I absolutely, totally agree with that. And it's next to impossible to change it on all the platforms after the damage is done. How do you locate an advertiser for buying advertisements for streaming ads?
That's what we've spent over a year doing. We have direct relationships with a lot of these companies. That's part of what AdWorks does, is provide the best, but in a democratized fashion. So we work directly with Hulu and with other providers, and in doing so, it means you don't have to hit their multi-thousand, tens of $1,000 thresholds to actually work with them. AdWorks is not the only company in the streaming television space. There are other quality companies out there. We're the ones on this webinar today. We'd be happy to help, but outside of that, there are other companies that do pull in other resources for you to advertise with. I'd like to think we're the best at doing it in real estate.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll piggyback on that as well. Is within your streaming TV campaigns, the reporting that we now show is really compelling as well. So you will know how many times you've been viewed on Hulu or HGTV. You can report those metrics back to the seller. It's also just good for you to know, but it's pretty rare in the industry in terms of that type of granular reporting. So it's just more great information to know where your ads are being shown and how often.
And speaking of statistics, does the agent receive statistics report on who, when, and how, and everything else?
Yeah, so each campaign we're going to show impressions, clicks. I mean, again, Wes mentioned this is not lead generation, so we're not going to, provide specific people or email addresses of who has clicked, but you can see the engagement. Those are stats that you can, report back to your seller. there are ways that, you enter your seller's email address into a listing campaign. We will target them with their own listing when they are browsing online, and give them their own reporting, which is just this really wonderful moment of, I'm on Wall Street Journal or ESPN.com checking the sports scores whenever sports starts again. And I see my own home as the seller. That's just a really powerful thing. So yes, all the campaigns have metrics that you can view.
That is great. Does this advertising have the same restriction regarding fair housing as Facebook, specifically regarding location?
Yeah, I'll take this one. I'm going to preface this with an exceptionally strong, this is not legal advice. You guys have to make your own decisions on this. What I will tell you is that HUD went after Facebook. Facebook put rules in place. As an agent, you have to make the determination if that carries over to other areas of marketing. That was specifically directed at Facebook. I don't know what you guys do, but for instance, do you make sure you send postcards everywhere in a 15-mile radius to every house? It's really a determination that you guys are gonna have to make. What I will tell you, that restriction applies on Facebook. We follow that restriction on Facebook. We work very close with them as it was being designed. But other advertising channels, email, direct mail, digital ads, there's a lot of other things, streaming TV, that there has not been a clear ruling on. And so that's up to you when you do things like streaming TV or email, if you make sure it reaches 15 miles.
Great. For someone who is taking their first high-end listing, do you have a sample an agent can use in their listing presentation?
Most likely, I would say reach out to myself or Wes directly, and maybe we can work with what brokerage you're with. What we do have is a nice one-sheeter that can be used. We can put your headshot, your contact info in, which really speaks to streaming television and how they would market their home on TV. So maybe reach out to us directly so we can get an appropriate example.
No, that is great. Yeah, I think everyone would love to have something like that.
Yeah, and for our partners on the AdWorks Enterprise side, we do have a video that is provided. So that doesn't cover TV right now, but it does cover the Facebook, Instagram, and display.
What do you recommend for distressed properties?
That's a great
Keith,
question.
I'm giving you that one. I don't have a good recommendation on that.
I don't know if I have a great answer for that one. Distressed properties. Well, showing that on streaming television might not be the best use of funds. I would say work with a wonderful partner to try to get the best pictures you can possibly get to clean it up a bit, but that could be a challenging one.
Okay, well, I'm not sure, Kate, how are we on time? We didn't reply to all the questions, but we will definitely email all the questions and answers to everybody.
Yes, so let's go ahead and wrap up. We're running a little bit out of time here. So I just want to thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Wes and Keith, for sharing your knowledge. I know I learned a lot. I think everyone else here did too. We're asking that you text Lucy to 31996 so that you can share your feedback on today's Lunch with Lucy event. That would be awesome. So again, it's texting Lucy to 31996. And visit vht.com/learn to register for our upcoming Lunch with Lucy's. Our next one is September 9th. And we'll be speaking to some of our photographers from across the country to hear their trade secrets on how to get the most out of your photography appointments. So you won't want to miss that one. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you guys very much, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.